Bruh.
All right. Do you know who Colin Stetson is? You should, especially if you're a saxophonist. As a matter of fact, if you're a fan of horror movies or TikTok, even if you've never heard of him, you've definitely heard him. Be it from cult classics such as 2018's Hereditary, or a hilarious meme from the TikToks. Or hell, even that Adult Swim adaptation of Uzumaki that looked really promising back in like 2019 and was strung along for like 4 or 5 years until we got a phenomenal first episode and was subsequently pissed on over for the next 3 episodes with severe funding and quality control issues, which led to a massive failure and continues to perpetuate the curse. Or maybe none of this rings a bell to you and you have no idea what I'm talking about. Just go to this timestamp if you want to skip to the lessons. Shane, you may ask, why are you talking to the camera instead of just playing your saxophone like you usually do? Well, first of all, how about you mind your own business? And second of all, my unique brand of weaponized autism has kept this man stuck in my head for like 5 years now. I've been studying his music, trying to replicate his style, and it has led me to be so brave as to say, I think Colin Stetson has the ultimate playing technique. Colin Stetson, born March 3rd, 1975, is an American saxophonist, multi-reedist, and composer based in Montreal. He is best known as a regular collaborator of the indie rock acts Arcade Fire, Bon Iver, Bell Orchestra. You don't need to know everything about his life. He plays the bass saxophone, sometimes some other instruments, and he makes them sound different. One of the most unique things about Colin Stetson is his setup. He'll use dozens of mics during one-take recordings to capture absolutely everything that you can think of. The reverb, the sound of the room, the thumping of the pads on his saxophones, the clicking of the keys, and even his voice. But microphones are just how you capture sound. The musician is the one that has to actually make it. And on the saxophone, there are many, many ways to make sound, far beyond playing a simple note on an instrument. So let's list all the techniques that Colin Stetson uses in nearly every song, shall we? Overtones, extreme dynamics, breath, and articulation control. Using the saxophone as a percussive instrument, an ungodly amount of circular breathing. Alternative fingerings, and an almost completely unique vocalization technique that sounds like it's a dying angel's last breath. He does all of this live, by the way. No backing tracks, no dubbing, no loopers. This man is an absolute monster of a musician. Real quick, I just want to throw in some appreciation for this one song in particular. If you're not familiar with the story of 52 Blue, it's essentially thought to be an elusive blue whale that was born with a defect in its throat, causing its call to be much higher than those of its normal species. That being 52 hertz instead of the typical 10 to 39 hertz. There's only ever been a single creature known to make this call, leading many to refer to 52 Blue as the world's loneliest whale. And Colin captures the emotion of this poor creature perfectly. It's poetry in musical form. Now, there aren't a ton of videos out there that combine all of these advanced techniques into one nice little package, so I'm here to do just that. Hopefully you can save yourself the several years it takes doing it all by yourself. Oftentimes the best way to learn any song is to just listen to it and try playing along with it. So technically learning the song is easy. The hard part is playing it fast, flowy, and with feeling. Lots of feeling. Overtones. Did you know that when you're playing your instrument, you're actually playing like a dozen different frequencies at the same time? That's because of these things called harmonics, or overtones. Every instrument has them, and they're all different. That's why a piano sounds different from a trumpet, sounds from a clarinet, sounds from a drum. Whenever you press the octave key on your instrument, you're venting off a small amount of air, which makes the saxophone essentially skip the bass tone and jump to the first overtone, which is an octave higher than the bass tone. Now, you can effectively jump up the series of notes by adjusting your tongue, as well as like the pressure on the mouthpiece and by moving your jaw. It's one of those things that requires a lot of practice, but here's some of the tricks to get started with it. Now, this sort of thing is a lot easier to do when you're playing lower notes. So what you're going to do is you're going to start out with a low B flat, and then use your ears and your embouchure to see if you can get that note to then jump up the octave. This can be easier said than done, so just really take your time, try moving different parts of your mouth, try adjusting the pressure on the mouthpiece, and see how is the best way for you to hit these overtones. Notice how I'm not using my octave key. My thumb is staying completely still. I'm only using my mouth to adjust the tone. What's that? You're running out of air really quickly because you can't circular breathe? Well, why didn't you tell me? Circular breathing is one of the final frontiers of saxophone mastery. You need rock-solid embouchure, multitasking, and some mean blowing skills. The best way that I've found is to take a glass of water and a straw and start blowing some bubbles. You can do this with just a little bit of water in here, but what I've found is that the more water you have to blow through with your straw, the more resistance there is while you're playing. I found that this can really help out with your practice and make things a bit easier. So I'm going to be keeping the microphone close to my nose so you can hear when I'm taking a breath. By putting this into water, it's going to be giving us some resistance because your air now has to move all of the water outside of the straw, just like how you have to move all of the air out of your mouth through this little opening on the mouthpiece. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing like normal, just using my lungs to push the air out into the water to create bubbles. But when I need to take a breath, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let my cheeks puff out, let them fill with air. So, and this is going to feel very strange to you. One of the big cornerstones of learning the saxophone is you're always taught, don't puff your cheeks, because that's how you ruin your embouchure, that's how you get out of tune, and that's how you play bad. Well, people like Dizzy Gillespie have shown that you can still play phenomenally while puffing out your cheeks. And that's what you have to do when you're circular breathing. So I am continuing to blow air. I let my cheeks puff up, and then I close the back of my mouth. What that means is I'm using my tongue to essentially cut off the supply of air and then continue to push it all using my cheeks and tongue to force the air into the straw or the mouthpiece. While I'm doing this, I take a nice sharp breath in through my nose, and this is how circular breathing is done. If you do it over and over and over and over and over and over again, you'll build up the muscle memory to where you can do it like it's second nature. You won't even be thinking about it anymore. Next, we're going to be learning how to use the saxophone as a percussive instrument, which is very easy. All you're doing is taking the keys that you've already been using over and over and over again and just amplifying the sound. So up top, what he'll normally do is he'll use the top three keys to get a nice snap. And then he'll often use the lower notes to get a good bass tone. So I'm already holding down a G, and then I just use my bottom keys and then slamming those down. That's pretty much it for that. Now, I would actually like to bring up another musician right now. If you're a saxophonist, you've probably heard of him before. I'm talking about Leo P. from Too Many Zoos, as well as a number of other bands. Specifically, this one quote that he gave in a Better Sax video when Jay Metcalf was interviewing him for his BBC Proms performance.
If you only practice what people teach you, you'll only learn what they know.
If you only practice what people teach you, you'll only know what they know. And that is a great point. Even with what I'm teaching you right now, don't just listen to me. Discover your own things. Because earlier in that same video, he says this.
Go spend time making your own sounds, creating your own vision of what you want to sound like. Even when kids ask me, like, how do you make that sound? I'm like, I could try to explain to you, but, like, I think you should try to make your own sound. Spend 20 minutes every day, like, not playing notes, playing any type of crazy sound and trying new stuff, because...
Just make noise. Make random noises on your instrument, because you never know what will sound cool. And frankly, that's how you end up discovering these other techniques that Colin Stetson uses as well. One of the other techniques that he uses, not very often, but in this song in particular, is that he will use flutter tonguing. He'll use different fingerings that aren't actual fingerings, but just to change the tone on the instrument. For example, by holding down an A on your instrument and then just flicking the F key, that's not going to change the note. It's not going to actually bring it down to like a G sharp or a G or anything, but it's going to shift the tone by just a couple of cents, and it's enough to make a difference in the tone. And now I also mentioned flutter tonguing. What is flutter tonguing? Well, I hate to break it to you, but if you can't roll your R's when you try to speak Spanish, you probably won't be able to do it. But really, you're just going while you play. And that gives you this sort of sound. Interesting, isn't it? But this is how you discover new things and you make new sounds. Just mess around with your instrument. See what you can do. Now, when it comes to the vocalization technique, I will admit I have not cracked this code yet. It is still very, very elusive to me. But I can teach you where to get started, because there was one point where I kind of got it. You can see it in this old video right here. But when it comes to getting an early start and like just starting to practice how to do this, we're going to learn something called growling. This is something you've definitely heard a saxophonist do before, and it's in the same genre of technique. If you don't know how to growl, essentially there's two different ways to do it. There's a guttural growl, and then there's a hum growl. If you're into metal vocals, this will sound kind of familiar to you. You're going to reach down into your throat and get a good that nice little like kind of bubbling going on in your throat. Personally, I don't use the guttural growl, but I know that other musicians do. For example, Leo P, as I mentioned before, I know that he uses the guttural growl. Little side story, he is one of the co-founders of Saxy School, and I was in their classes for a little bit. That's how he was teaching people how to do it, but I want you to know that there is this second method, which is the one that I use, the hum growl. And it sounds pretty much exactly what you would think it is. You're just humming while playing. It sounds cool. Keeping the hum growl in mind, this is how we deal with something called tartini tones or combination tones. You can manage to get an extra note out of your instrument so that it's almost like there's three playing at the same time. Well, what do you mean there's three of them? I'm only playing one note. Start with playing a low note. It doesn't matter what note it is. A low C, a low B flat, doesn't matter. Just keep a low note. Then, with your voice, hum the same note, That's going to give you your growl. Now, start to change the pitch that you're humming, and you'll notice that eventually when you get to a note that's a major third above what you're playing, it's going to make the instrument sound a lot deeper than it actually is. And you can see that when I adjust the way that I'm playing, just adjusting the pitch, sorry, it'll feel weird. It's going to vibrate your head and your throat in a way that you're not used to, and it'll almost bring you back to when you first started learning and the mouthpiece made your teeth vibrate. But when you're doing this, start fucking around with it a lot more, and you'll get some really interesting sounds out of your saxophone. God. If you can't tell, I'm a huge nerd and I love my instrument a lot. And by combining all of these techniques together, you get just this cacophonous medley of sound that sounds otherworldly. Also, shameless self-promo time. By the time you're seeing this video, I have a new album that has come out. Yeah, as of today, when you are watching this, I have new music that you can listen to. Didn't know I was a musician? Where have you been? But anyway, The Little Things, now available to stream everywhere. It does not matter. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, frickin' Roblox. Yes, I have music available on Roblox. If that is your preferred method of streaming music, please listen. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna do the YouTuber thing. Be sure to subscribe and leave a like or whatever. Save this to a playlist. I don't frickin' know what... I don't know what constitutes a good video. Whatever. Just do whatever you want. Leave a comment if I did good or not. Fucking... If there's something I missed or if you want a deeper explanation on something, please let me know. This video was a lot of fun to make, and frankly, I like being a teacher. But besides that, I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you learned something new, and if you're a saxophonist, I hope this really helped you. To close out this video, I'll play one last clip and throw up some visual cues so you can follow along with the techniques that he's using. So yeah, this is going to be a different segment to the video. This YouTube channel mainly acts as like a music content vault nowadays, but it wasn't always just music. I've had this account since 2011 or 7th grade, with my first upload being in early 2012. Making this channel kind of a personal time capsule for me, you know, getting to see how I change and grow as a person. So to make something a little more intentional, hi, future me. It's July 17th, 2025 at 10:02 p.m. when I write this. Life's been crazy, to say the least. I know you'll probably remember just how crappy the past 5 months or so have been, but this is where you start being active and like eating better, relatively speaking, working out a bunch, and like starting to really change your mental health for the better. I hope you're doing even better than I am now, by the way. Can't wait to see how it goes. Hi, babe. I know you're probably watching this the instant that it gets posted, but this can be for you in the future as well. I can't thank you enough for being such a major part of my life for the past 9 years now. It's crazy to think that this little blossoming bud of a musician probably wouldn't exist if you hadn't lovingly pressured me into buying my first very own saxophone, and how you even helped contribute to the down payment. I don't know if I ever would have bit the bullet if it wasn't for you, if you didn't have such a passion for helping me be my best self. Thank you. I love you. And Colin, if you ever somehow see this by some fraction of a chance, thank you for happening to appear in my life when I needed you the most. I was experiencing a major depressive phase for the first time in my life, and I started spiraling, wondering who I was supposed to be as a person. One random day in the fall, I started researching uncommon and unique saxophones, as any normal 20-something would do. And I wanted to listen to these instruments just to see what they sounded like. This is how I discovered Finnish avant-garde group Alamajomen Vasarat, Mirasurus, 2 backseat 18. But when searching for the bass specifically, I come across this one song on YouTube, Judges. And what I hear isn't a saxophone. It can't be. And then he starts singing. Instantly, I'm thrown into a trance. Transported to dreamlike wasteland where even the singed rubble of war glitters in a peculiar, shimmering glare of bright blues, purples, and pinks. Even through the noise, it feels silent. I can grasp the eerie calmness in the air, evidence of a complete lack of any form of life besides your own. As the monstrous howls of an inner torment continue to pull at my heart, as the rage of a battle I never wanted to be a part of has utterly decimated what used to be my home. How am I feeling such dread? In a state of repose, yet burning with hatred for the unknown force that's laid waste to all I have known. All while it will never know who I am or what it's done to me.
What war was this? What town could this be?
And in a radical shift of narrative, I begin to see stars. No other song has ever had such a grasp on my mind. No other song has held my attention like this, yearning to understand every intention, every click of a key, every swell of energy, and such a direct transfer of emotion, from sound to soul. This song doesn't tell me a story. It tells me how to feel. I listen when I want to relax. I listen when I need to come down from an anxiety attack. I listen when I need to let out my misery and cry my way towards feeling better. It's like I can place myself inside his mind and feel the emotions that he infused into this song. It also completely rewrote my relationship with the saxophone. This song single-handedly changed who I am as a musician, and it made me realize who I'm supposed to be. And for that, I am truly thankful. Thank you, Colin. And thanks for watching the video.